Hey guys, which interesting video on Wild Rift. So they're back with our Corki updated complete guide for patch 4.2 onwards, and as you guys can see, nothing much has really changed, to be honest, but we're gonna go over all of it, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about Corki's build, etc. But before all of that, of course, remember to check out Corki's basic guide that I released yesterday for his skills, leveling order, tips and tricks, combos, and all that good stuff. But without further ado, let's jump straight into Corki's loadout. So first up, I'm going to talk about his build. So you guys can see here that his build practically remained the same. He's still going for this no crit, this Manamune Triforce kind of build. Now I have tried an alternative build, which is this build, like a full crit build with Essence Reaver. I simply just don't think it's anywhere near as good as this build. So I still think this build is the best build. You can change out the tanky items, we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's sort of playstyle dependent. So first up, you're getting the Manamune. So Manamune of course gives you ability haste, attack damage, as well as the mana, which Corki uses a lot of. Even with Manamune, he runs out of mana. So the Manamune is incredibly important for Corki's mana. And now it of course has that new passive, the one that of course works on both abilities as well as basic attacks. This is a dream for Corki, because Corki of course loves to basic attack and loves to cast his ultimate, his Q, as well as his E for damage, and all of those abilities are going to be doing more damage because of the Manamune. So of course this has become a super duper great item for Corki and a lot of other champs as well, but it's only made this build of Corki even better. So next we have Triforce. So Triforce of course gives you like a battery of stats, you know, attack speed, AD, ability haste, movement speed, health, etc. But the main one that's important is the Spellblade passive, where you gain the ability to deal a basic attack which deals bonus physical damage equal to 200% of your base attack damage between attacks. So the reason why this is amazing on Corki is because when you cast your ultimate, that counts as a spell, and you can basic attack in between. You have 6 stacks of your ultimate, which basically means you have permanent uptime on Spellblade, unlike basically every other champion in the game. So of course you also get like a lot of nice other stats like movement speed from Rage passive and like from Fervor passive to kite around, and also like attack speed and ability haste, that sort of thing, which of course does help you out a lot as well. So now most of the time on Corki, majority of the time you normally pick up Mercury's Stasis, and Mercury Treads is a really interesting one because most of the time you take that for tenacity, and a lot of the time you are in situations where tenacity is very important for Corki. So generally you go for Mercury Stasis. Obviously if you don't need Merc Treads, you can also opt for Gluttonous Greaves, you can opt for Plated Steel Caps, or even Ionian Boots. Pretty much anything other than Boots of Furor is going to work on Corki. So your third core item is going to be your Riftmaker. Health, AP, ability haste, and Omnivamp. Of course Corki does mix damage as well as true damage from Riftmaker, which of course comes from the Void Corruption passive, which after it stacks for a couple of seconds, it's going to deal true damage. So these are your 3 core items on Corki, and these when you hit this 3 item power spike is when you become super duper strong. So in my opinion, these 3 damage items are enough, and I personally like to go for Sterak's Gauge and then Twin Guard. So Sterak's Gauge gives you 400 max health, and of course boosts your base AD by 50%. And furthermore, you get a lifeline passive that, you know, procs for 75% bonus health. Now the interesting part about this is that Corki actually has 250 max health and 150 max health from Riftmaker and Triforce. So that's 400 plus 400 from Sterak's Gauge, means that this shield is going to be a 600 damage shield, which is it's comparable to a late game Immortal Shield Bow shield. Of course Shield Bow still gives you more shield, gives you 900 at 4 items, but when you hit this point, the Shield Bow shield is going to be like 700. So this is only barely below net amount anyways. And of course this gives you damage from the base AD, and also tenacity from the Sterak's Fury passive. And finally I like to get Twin Guard to of course get myself the dual resistances, as well as gaining the additional resistances later on. So these are the 2 tanky items. Now if you want to go for full damage, you can actually go for something like this. So you can go for Charge Blade. So Charge Blade of course also allows you to proc the Charge Blade stacks every time you cast an ability, and by spamming your ultimate you're going to have unlimited Charge Blade stacks, and you're supposed to basic attack in between because of your Triforce anyway. So Charge Blade is an amazing item for Corki, and Void Staff gives you the armor penetration, not armor penetration, the magic penetration you need, since you are a magic damage dealer. But as I mentioned, personally I like to go for this build. So for the runes, you go for Conqueror because no other rune really works on Corki. This one gives you, bonus AD as well as, of course, gives you Omnivamp when fully stacked. For the Domination rune, normally you go for Brutal. Now, Brutal gives you a lot better early game, and even in the late game, you auto attack a lot because you have to auto attack in between to proc Spellblade, and this gives you a whole ton of damage. Now, Corki actually cannot go for Hunter Vampirism because it's gonna give you, what's this called? Magic Vamp instead of Physical Vamp because of it's gonna give you Physical Vamp instead of Magic Vamp because of the way you build, but you actually don't want that. So that's not good at all because you're dealing magic damage. You get Physical Vamp, but you're dealing magic damage, so Hunter Vampirism doesn't work. Gathering Storm is the same logic, it doesn't work as well. You can go for Triumph, and you can actually go for Giant Slayer as well, but unless you're against a very tanky team, Giant Slayer is not that good, unless, again, you're into a very tanky team, and Brutal is just more consistent than Triumph, because Brutal works all the time, and Triumph only works when they're low, so yeah. So over here, I like to take Bone Plating for the anti-combo damage, but in matches where there's a lot of CC, Perseverance is amazing. And finally, on your last rune, I used to take Mana Flow Ban here, but I come to notice that Sweet Tooth is actually better, because instead of giving you just mana, it gives you health and gold as well. So I actually like taking Sweet Tooth here now. Transcendence doesn't make sense because Corki's cooldowns are all really low, and nothing else is really good here. Maybe Nimbus Cloak if you like it, but I like going for Sweet Tooth to resolve my mana issues. And for the spells, Flash and Exhaust, standard loadout for Corki, and ADCs. So with that out the way, let's jump into the gameplay. Okay, so the gameplay. First things first, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will, of course, be sure to address them. So, of course, obviously, we're Corki here today, and we have a Leona with us. Now, Corki works really well with... Technically, he works well with both Engagers and Enchanters, in the sense that he doesn't really care too much about who his support is. He would rather have an Engager than an Enchanter if you really had to have a choice, because if someone engages for you, you can go in with your full combo as we talked about in the basic guide. You can, W forward, use your E and unleash everything onto them, whereas if you have an Enchanter, buffing a Corki is generally not the best, ADC to buff, because he's not like some hyper carry who needs a Lulu or something like that. He's happy to stay far away and poke and get in damage and attack when he can. He doesn't really need an Enchanter, so I would say an Engager is better, but in general, Corki doesn't care too much about his support, which is really good, of course, because he's not one of those ADCs like Samira who needs an Engager to be able to even function and play her role properly, or at least make her job a lot more easy. So anyways, we're up against a Kai'Sa and we're up against a Seraphine. So Kai'Sa should never really be a problem for Corki, at least in the lane, because Kai'Sa shouldn't be able to really poke you, whereas you can poke her out and it's really hard for her to all-in you. Whereas Seraphine is sort of a little bit more of an issue because she can poke you back. As you guys can see, she's just launching, bombs at us, and we're gonna have to dodge all of Seraphine's stuff. So here in the meantime, we're trying to return poke. Of course, we don't really land that one, but the concept was there that, it's sort of a poke battle. Seraphine's trying to poke us, and we're trying to poke them down. We're trying to poke them down to a point where Leona can go in on them. And Leona here tanks up a lot of damage, goes in for the stun onto the Kai'Sa. I get exhausted, and we should be content with, getting the exhaust. I have full stack on my Conqueror though, so I'm getting in 1 or 2 auto attacks on the Seraphine as I'm leaving, mostly because Seraphine doesn't have mana. I believe now that she is leveled up, she only has just nice enough mana for a spell. We spot out our jungler in trouble, and here we are on the rotation. Here we are flashing over. Kayn does go down. We're able to secure the kill onto the Ahri, and we're on the chase for Kha'Zix. Here, full stack Conqueror again. Unfortunately, the enemy bot lane decides to come and interfere. Zed is also here. It just becomes a very messy fight in general. Here, I'm trying to finish anybody off, but it doesn't really quite work. They're all kind of left at 1 HP, and yeah, I'm not really content to dive the tower there, because obviously I'm going to tank up a lot of damage. So in the end, it sort of becomes a very long extended fight where nothing too much is really achieved, in the grand scheme of things. Leona picked up a kill, Zed picked up a kill, but so did Seraphine and Ahri, so it sort of evens out, at the end of the day. Although I would say that, both supports getting a kill and both mids getting a kill, it's kind of evened out. So, honestly, it's not too impactful in terms of, the game. Of course, in that exchange, a lot of us also blew a lot of summoner spells. They don't have any summoner spells left. I only have exhaust left, so we do have a very slight summoner spell advantage in the lane itself, being the small exhaust that I have. But yeah, so here anyways, we're headed back to lane. Leona has, I think she has gone in, but Kayn you can see is cutting them off from behind. Leona goes in with the E, I'm dashing in to catch up with my team. Kayn finishes off the Seraphine and we're on the chase for Kai'Sa. Nice ulti by the Leona to stun the Kai'Sa and we're able to finish off the kill. Beautiful gank by Kayn. And here we're also going to be able to pick up maybe a tower plate or two, you know, of course since the enemy team is dead. So this is sort of what I was talking about when I say that Corki liked an engager. You can see that when Leona went in there, I'm able to dash forward and start to offload my damage onto the enemy team, which is kind of what you really want. Here, Ahri gets the kill onto our Kayn off of the rotation, but we are able to trade the kill onto her. So at the end of the day, once again, you know, it's just a 1-for-1 trade. Although I do end up getting double buffs, which in my opinion is quite a significant detail. So here I'm just clearing out the wave. Zed is hovering, so I'm not too afraid. In fact, I kind of want to look for a fight here because Zed is over here in the area. Of course, he's been spotted that he's launched some poke. But the enemy team cannot really do anything aside from stay under tower since they're under the threat of being ulted by Zed. Here's the Leona hits the ulti, tries to go in here, and you know we end up basically full committing here. Both of them are 1 HP. Seraphine's double shield ends up basically saving the Kai'Sa, and I end up dying. Zed does finish off the kill though. And yeah, so not really the best executed dive in the world, but it wasn't too bad. We did end up trading 2-for-1 overall, although I was the one that did die, which is kind of unfortunate, but hey, you know, it still sort of works out in the end. In the meanwhile, with the pressure, Kayn is able to counter jungle. I'm able to pick up the package and head over to the dragon. Of course, as I mentioned, you want to save the package until you're contesting an objective, and in this case it's a dragon, so we have the package on standby. You can see enemy team is sort of coming over to contest. So here I use the package to basically force them all to the left side of the screen and basically make it such that it's really difficult for them to run. Me and Kai'Sa are left in a 1v1. I don't win that, so I'm flashing out, and I'm letting Leona try to finish the job. Hopefully she does get the kill on Kai'Sa. Looks like it. There we go. Leona secures the kill onto the Kai'Sa, and we also secure the dragon. I have my fruit, so I picked up the fruit. I'm trying to rotate over here to help Zed with the Jarvan. Zed does end up dying. I'm trying to trade onto the Jarvan. One last auto attack unfortunately leaves him at what I believe is single target HP. But you know, at the end of the day, he does end up escaping, which is pretty unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. Sometimes, you know, the game does work out that way. So here we cleared up the minion wave, trying to get a little bit of tower damage. Most of the enemy team should be rotating to the Rift Herald was what I was assuming, because Rift Herald is up, Kayn is on the Rift Herald. But turns out that both Seraphine and Kai'Sa both walk back to lane, so I'm gonna have to back off and recall all the way, so that of course I don't die 1v2. So here I'm getting more components of Triforce and of course launching random spells in base to charge up my Manamune more quickly. I'm doing relatively well. I'm 4-1 and 6 now. In terms of gold, most gold in the game, only slightly ahead of Kayn, and on the enemy team no one is really even close to 5k, whereas we're working towards 6k already. So we're in a relatively good spot as Corki. Of course now for the time being we're playing weak side while Leona of course roams to help secure the Herald, so we are playing cautiously, and Corki does relatively okay playing weak side because with your poke you're able to like sort of poke enemies down to make it hard for them to go in on you, and also you're able to clear out the wave you know, with the same kind of logic. So here dodge the Seraphine. Now Seraphine is forced to flash because Leona went in, and here I'm just trying to you know, find a little bit of poke onto the enemy team. Kai'Sa Q gets mostly blocked by bone plating, so I'm, you know, pretty fine at the moment. Kha'Zix jumps all the way in. Here I know roughly where he is, so I'm kind of just blasting the Kha'Zix even though he's invisible because there's nowhere else he really could be. Kai'Sa goes in with the ulti. I end up missing my Q, so Leona does end up dying. But we do end up finishing off both kills, and Zed finishes off the last kill onto the Seraphine. So pretty successful exchange overall. We traded 1 for 3, which is pretty amazing. And on the opposite side of the map, another double kill goes over to my team, earning us a clean ace. So my team is sort of doing well all across the board at this point. We can see Zed's 5-1. Garen, Kayn, and Leona are all even in terms of KDA, but in terms of gold, you can see that Kayn is incredibly fed. He's at 8k gold now, by far the most in the game, and double the goal of someone like an Ahri on the enemy team. So my team is really far ahead. by this point, and we're really strong. So we should, be pretty much fine for the rest of the game unless we make some, stupid mistakes, which of course happens really often in solo queue. By the way, you can see that this guy has the new Hextech Jarvan skin from the new Hextech store, and it's pretty nice skin. Of course, it's really hard to get, but here. Again, we dodged the Seraphine ultimate by sidestepping it, so here we're just trying to go in. I was trying to go in on Kha'Zix, but he goes invisible. I end up finding myself in no man's land, but I am able to pretty much just run away, trying to deal some damage while Leona is getting pummeled to the ground. I end up getting quite a significant chunk onto Ahri despite being 1 HP. Jarvan tries to chase me down. I exhaust him, and I somehow managed to actually survive because of the exhaust. I honestly thought I would be dead there, but somehow I survived. Garen's able to finish off the kill. And yeah, we end up surviving. So that's sort of a mirror of the situation of just now when the enemy survived on 1 HP. So I pretty much should have died there, but I survived. And once again, Kha'Zix tries to jump in for the assassination, gets the electrocute off, but he's just a little bit too behind at this point to be assassinating me. He only has 1 Dust Blade and another Dirk. Of course, that's more than enough to assassinate a squishy target like me. But thankfully, Garen was there to silence him and kind of save me and pick up the kill, finish him off. So here, I'm gonna pick up my stasis, and at this point we just have the evolved mirror mana as we launch those last few rockets from the base. 619 in terms of KD at the moment, so we're doing really good. Again, Dragon is spawning, so we're picking up the package. We only want to pick up package when objectives are spawning, because that's the main use of the package. Here I'm starting out the Dragon, waiting for my team to rotate. We can see some of the enemy team on the opposite side of the map as well, so both teams have people out of position. We're really strong at this point, so if the enemy team comes to contest, this should be a really free Dragon anyway. So here we're kind of just looking for a way to use our package. We're clinging near the edge of the wall to look for an opportunity to package in. I spot the opportunity, I package to separate the Seraphine away from the team. We're able to kill 1 person. Seraphine walks through the package and takes a ton of damage just from the package, and we're able to finish off the entire enemy team, get the Dragon, and pick up another ace. So really good use of the package. You can see separated Seraphine. Smart thing to do there was to just turn tail and run as Seraphine, but she tried to walk through the package, chunks her for more than half of her health, and just dies to the rest, while me and my team finish off her 2 teammates who are in front of her. So here I'm just gonna back. I'm going to pick up the components of my Riftmaker, of course, building toward that as my next item. And my team is taking the opportunity to sort of start pushing down lanes and put more pressure on the map. In the meanwhile, since there's a little bit of downtime and the waves are all pushing towards the enemy team side, I can't really farm the waves, so I'm going to farm the jungle instead. Here I'm just going to give the Kate a little bit of help just to get the buff faster, and this allows me to of course pick up the shared red buff. Heading over to mid where Leona is sort of just holding the wave there. Seraphine and Jarvan are there. She goes in onto the Seraphine. We're able to finish off the Seraphine really quickly. Of course, she's a very squishy target. Jarvan is able to get out because of his mobility, but overall it's still really positive. On the other side of the map, you can see that Kai'Sa is basically getting run down by the Garen, and it's becoming a really close fight between Kai'Sa and Garen. But here we're all gonna collapse onto the Kai'Sa, and Kai'Sa is basically guaranteed dead. Now me and Leona realize that there's no point going for the Kai'Sa because she's not gonna survive Kayn anyway, so instead we turn over to the minion wave and we are able to clear out the minion wave to get our wave pushing faster. Leona's a little bit overextended, so Jarvan ends up trying to go in on her. Nice Leona stun onto 2, as well as I believe getting the slow onto 1. Here Jarvan ultimately means I'm gonna have to dash out, staying behind at the back of the teamfight, trying to blast whoever I can while not getting CC'd and staying safe. Ahri tries to dash in. I don't get hit by the charm, thankfully. I don't think she was aiming for me. I think she was aiming for Garen. But here Kayn comes in a little bit late, in my opinion, but I think it's kind of time for us to back off. Zed and Kayn do end up cleaning up a couple of kills though, so I guess maybe not. But yeah, I didn't have mana to cast spells anyway, so there's no point of me really being in the fight. Interesting, IE coming in from the 4-1 and 2 Garen here. He has a very strange Black Cleaver Youmuu's into IE build. Pretty strange, but I've seen the Black Cleaver into Youmuu's before, but I've never seen Garen build IE. I'm not sure what the itemization is all about. But yeah, so now here I think I have enough of my Riftmaker, so I'm going to go back to the base and pick up my Riftmaker. Of course, Baron is up, so I was initially thinking I might want to take package to go for Baron, but I wasn't really sure if my team was going to commit to a Baron. No one was really pinging anything, so we're just going to hit over to around the Baron area. Ends up Kha'Zix tries to face check in. Here again, there's only one way Kha'Zix can go, so I'm kind of just walking toward that direction and just blasting him. He could just turn like 180 degrees in a while back, but I thought that was pretty unlikely. Finally get hit by a Seraphine Charm because no real way to dodge that one. Unless I flash, but no real reason to flash there when I'm not really in danger. So here we're just blasting the whole enemy team. I managed to finish the kill on Seraphine by tanking 2 tower shots, and only the Jarvan and Kai'Sa are left up alive. So this is the opportune moment to go pick up the Baron. So here, we get the blue buff share from Kayn, refreshing our blue buff. On Corki, blue buff is a lot more important than red buff because Corki does care about red buff's damage and slow, but he cares a lot more about getting the mana from blue buff because, as I mentioned, Corki is very mana hungry, and he's also very mana reliant to cast his abilities, which is his main form of damage. So you do want to get yourself the blue buff if you can, in order to circumvent your mana issues. So here the final dragon before Elder Dragon is going to be spawning, and of course we're going to be here picking up the package. You can see I waited in base for a while because I didn't want my package to run out, as I'm still carrying it. So I'm waiting for a while, picking up the package, picking up the red buff along the way as well. And then we're going to hit over to the dragon for our final, dragon fight, before the Elder Dragon. So here, we're already in position. And here, my team decides to go for the fight while I'm focusing the dragon. So here I'm looking for Kha'Zix. I see Kha'Zix jumping over towards the Kruk area. I'm going to package over, cut off his escape, and secure the kill, which basically means that we secure ourselves the dragon. Me and Garen are 2-manning the dragon, whereas our team is trying to fight the rest of the enemy team, and the enemy team is distracted. Here I'm trying to reach my team. Of course they are ahead, but a 3v5 is never good numbers. Here we see Kai'Sa's really low, so is Jarvan, and here I try to flash forward to finish off somebody. Jarvan ends up living on 1 HP, but if I landed that one ulti that I missed, I think he would have died. So a little bit unfortunate of a situation there yet again. However, we still have Baron buff, 3 people left alive on the enemy team. We're still probably going to be able to push down some towers. The tower is only 74 HP, so it's pretty easy to finish off. Here Jarvan tries to go in, get the knockup on me, but I'm dashing my way out. Jarvan's taking a lot of damage because of the shred that he's getting from my E, and I end up finishing off both him as well as the Kai'Sa in a double kill. We secure ourselves the mid lane turret, and off of that, we're also gonna try to, of course, end the game. But before that, stasis popped because I went in a little bit too deep there. Here my whole team is kind of dying around me, which is kind of not really what I want to see. Here it's only me and Garen left, and we can't exactly end the game here, so we're going to back off just a little bit. Here I'm going to farm the enemy jungle to deny the enemy some resources. Kayn is back in the mix and kills the Kha'Zix. So here I'm headed back over to the base to see if we can possibly kill people in the game. But, enemy resets are coming through, so there's no real opportunity to do that. Here I'm pinging my team to retreat because, with me, Garen, and Kayn, not very likely that anything good is going to happen. Kayn picks up the blue buff, which gives me the buff share as well. I'm going to pick up my Sterix Gauge, I believe, in a while. Just need a little bit more gold to pick up that Sterix Gauge. There we go, Sterix Gauge completed. Sometimes gotta wait in base just for a couple of seconds to complete items. Sure, you guys know all about that. So here I'm gonna head back out into the lane. My whole team is basically just pushing down mid. Enemy team only has towers left in the bot lane anyways. I believe Seraphine gets caught out by the Kayn and then by the Leona. She does end up going down. Kai'Sa and Zed are in a 1v1 on the side lane, and here I finally reached the fight and I'm able to help my team. Here we could have honestly just focused the base and ended the game, but instead I decided to have more fun and focus the enemies instead. So here you guys can see I'm just blasting the Jarvan and the Ahri. Ahri dashes forward, gets a couple of resets, but stasis, which basically means that I can finish her off. Kha'Zix comes in, I exhaust him and kill the Kha'Zix. Jarvan's really low, so I try to go forward to kill him, but he's just a little bit too tanky. He has his double items of Black Cleaver and Sunderer, so he's not too easy to kill. But we do pick up the victory in the end. So as usual, I'm going to leave you guys with the stats. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.